Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. This is Anthony Mutugi, and welcome to the Tony's podcast. This is a podcast aimed at informing, educating, and entertaining you. This specific episode was shot on the 29th of May, 2025. Any events or occurrences that are mentioned are subject and prior to that date. There's quite a number of interesting stories that I've been checking out on the internet that have really intrigued me and I really wanted to discuss. To start with, there's a story by Hanifa Adan. It's actually not a story, but rather more of an article by Hanifa Adan where she had penned down her thoughts on the Daily Nation, explaining the woes that befell Agatha in the hands of Tanzanian policemen. And she really explained about how Agatha had tried for quite a while to come and imagine of what if these people come for me. And there's a point where she's saying that Agatha used to joke and asema, at this point I need to be carrying poison so that whenever they come for me, so that I just don't endure the kind of problems that, the kind of torture that they are going to make me undergo. I just drink and let the poison work on me in a way, but let me not go through their torture. Well, at times we are scared for our lives. We are all scared for our lives. And she's been advised quite a number of times, Agatha, please stop this. It will get your children motherless. But Agatha thinks in a different way. She's like, what about those children who lose their mothers because of the hospitals do not have medicine? What about that one kid who loses their parents just because of the government's negligence and such issues? So to her, it's not all children who are motherless due to the fact that their mother spoke up. At times it's because of someone who never spoke up, someone who never did their duty, someone who never did what they are supposed to do. I'm a lover of books, I'm a lover of articles, and each time I read Hanifa's articles, I never fail to get intrigued with the kind of brains. Her style of writing reminds me of Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Yes, they are not in the same field of creative writing, but you still see a woman who is able to express her emotions in the best way possible. And I would like to read an excerpt. Kuna kapat kalinibamba sana hapa about how Hanifa put it, and listen to how she explains what Agatha went through. I'll read. What happened to me, what happened next is the stuff of nightmares. They ordered her to strip. We are talking about Agatha. So they ordered Agatha to strip, they beat her, they mocked her, they dehumanized her. And when they were done, they treated her as if nothing had happened, offered her water, told her to rest like it was just another work day. Like they had it just crossed every line of decency. They looked at her like they do this daily. Hanifa, Agatha says, they treated me nicely immediately after afflicting immense pain. Immediately after afflicting immense pain, they treat you nicely. Like, it's not personal. This is my job. But how does someone make a job out of torture? How do you earn out of torturing? Like, I've tortured you, so when I torture you, acha nipelekee watoto maziwa. It's just work. It's not personal. Sounds like mercenaries, right? Heartless. How does someone, Hanifa writes, how does someone reconcile violence with professionalism? These weren't monsters from a movie. They weren't ordinary men in uniforms carrying out orders with detached precision. And perhaps that's the scariest part, the vanity of evil, the ease with which people can justify brutality when they are insulated by state power. Boniface was among the other people who had been abducted along Agatha, and really underwent a lot in the hands of the Tanzanian state. They were really tortured, dehumanized. And I actually like the fact that Hanifa says that in as much as Tanzania wanted silence, they wanted silence like nothing is happening. Right now, it's out there. The can of worms is opened and we can all see what is happening in Tanzania. The UN are looking at this, they're asking questions. The international community is asking questions. They thought that they were silencing this one person or these two people in Agatha and Boniface Mwangi. And now see, Kenyans are battling them. And Kenyans are fighting for Tanzania while they are still in Kenya. There used to be Kenyans on Twitter. Now there are Kenyans on TikTok, Kenyans on WhatsApp, Kenyans everywhere. And they are swarming in to teach these Tanzanian politicians a lesson, quite a number of them. Because we are fixing our country. But as we are fixing our country, we have to fix the other countries. Because if your neighbors are good, then it's better for you. If we are liberated and our neighbors are not liberated, then what's the essence of liberation? How will we enjoy trading with our East African members? If Tanzania cannot talk, if Uganda cannot talk, we have to break this yoke of slavery that has been brought onto us, economic slavery, where youths do not have opportunities. And unless we have people who are ready to sacrifice their lives, the likes of Boniface Mwangi and Agatha, then hakuna place tunaenda. Because for Christianity to happen, it had to take Jesus to be crucified. For Kenya to gain independence, it had to take a very high number of people to die. And the Mau Mau to fight even the Arab Spring. It took someone to burn themselves for the Arab Spring to happen. They are always sacrificial lambs. I do not want to become a sacrificial lamb. I love myself. I don't want to torture Turkey. But at the same time, it's time we wake a consciousness in our people, try to tell them, na tukubali that there are some people, the struggle will have blood, sweat and tears. 25th of June, that blood haikumwagika in vain. One day we shall remember. And many more will be lost in the struggle for liberation. And I have to put this, the liberation of our people, the Kenyan people, the East African people, will not be led by a politician. It will be led by a very common person. Mtu mwenye hajulikani. Let's read from the Arab Spring. Let's borrow notes from there. Hanifa goes ahead to say, to give an experience that Agatha had. That when she was going to Uganda and the children, Agatha's children had gone to her sister's place, they packed their school items because they were scared of the fact that our mother might not come again. These are young kids. I'm not definite how old they are, but they had already come to face with the reality that Mama might not come back because of what she does. Traumatizing, right? I really feel for them. And just imagine, if that is a journalist, huyu ni mtu anajulikana, this is someone who has spoken out, known worldwide, and she undergoes such kind of torture. What of that person mwenye hajulikani? And even if they are known of that average Tanzanian who is against the government or who was just caught up, mistaken identity. We saw here in Kenya where they wanted Francis Gaido, but they took Macharia Gaido. Took off completely different people. And then in Tanzania, where the rules are a bit loose, maybe they decide, let's deal with, this is the Gaido. Now they are dealing with a Macharia Gaido, but they were sent a Francis Gaido. They torture him, and after torturing him, Maybe they decided to bury him and he's never seen again. Then after a while, it was mistaken identity. That's why we say, I mean, you are the state, you are government. Kwani iko shida gani kama umefanya makosa ushikwe na governor upelekwa kotini? It's the government anyway. They have a monopoly of violence. They can do anything to you. But should they really kill you? Should they torture you? Why do we build prison? What is the purpose of prison? You should not silence people. They are afraid of. They thrive, our politicians just thrive in silence. If we keep quiet, then things are good. But if people talk, then the fear is with them. So people should talk more. And actually, Watanzania muongee na mzungumze zaidi. Nyinyi hata ndio mmenyamaza, vita yenyu tunawapigania, mko wapi? Where are you? Mko wapi? Fight your own battles. We are only here to help you, not to fight for you. Sasa hii mnafaa ku take up from the pace yenye Wakenya tumewasetia. Si mtupinge sisi, lakini mpinge serikali yenu. Mpinge serikali yenu. Huyo mama anawadhulumu. Mama atawaacha mayatima, anawadhulumu. Sijui kama mnanielewa watizedi. Lakini hayo ni mambo yenu, sisi hatutashughulika na yenu sana. Kwa sababu tuko na yetu. Na yetu hamyawezi. Kwa mfano, sasa mambo ambayo sisi wana Kenya tunashughulikia. Tulikuwa tunafanya uchunguzi kuelewa kana kwamba serikali yetu ina uhusiano wowote na vita vinavyoendelea kuibuka kule Sudan. Na tukapata kwamba ndio jambo wazi kama meno ya ngiri kwamba serikali yetu kuna vile ambavyo ina uhusiano wa ndani na kundi haramu la Janjaweed ama ukipenda RSF kule Darfur. Wao ndio wanaosupport, wanawapea huo. Kiswahili ni ngumu bwana. Kiswahili ni ngumu, but I was trying to explain to Tanzanians the kind of problems we are facing here. Hawaziwezi. So there was a recent headline on the Standard about how RSF have been moving military equipment from the United Arab Emirates all the way to Darfur. This comes in through Kenya. The planes natoka either Abu Dhabi or Dubai. We are now specific on the one that was downed in Nyala Airport. So the plane was from Abu Dhabi, came to Kenya, labeled as humanitarian aid. Then from Kenya inaenda Darfur. What was termed as humanitarian aid, because these are cargo planes, was not actually humanitarian aid. These were military weapons, drones. Kina FH-95. Kama hujui FH-95 tafadhali nenda ulizia. These are kind of a drone that can move, that can be operated remotely. I can attack you when I'm 2,600 kilometers away. It can also work. They can coordinate. You can have several drones where zina actually kama soldiers. It's like in the movies. Cover for me. Drone sasa ndio inafanya hiyo. Cover for me. Ina cover for the other drone. Zinakuja zina bomb. Zinafanya malipuzi mbaya sana. So the Sudan Armed Forces got to get this intelligence and they bombed that plane. That plane had 8 Emirati internationals, at least 8. Several Sudanese people, RSF troops were there, and also there was a Kenyan pilot by the name George Nyamodi. So George Nyamodi is the first Kenyan, unofficial, it's not official, unofficial, but the first known Kenyan to lose his life due to the RSF versus SAF battle in Sudan. Hemedi, our president says that they have no ties with Hemedi. But now we have the evidence. Evidence iko kwa karatasi. Gachagua said this thing, and he said he is a truthful man. He blamed them. And now the evidence is here. The government has denied any involvement, but If it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, it's definitely a duck. What was Janjaweed doing there in KICC? Declaring a parallel government. Actually, do you know what is the impact of them declaring a parallel government? Then it would mean that they are allowed to directly import weapons that can only be sold to government. Remember, only a state has the monopoly of violence. Kuna weapons zingine wezi enda kununua ni kama unanunua atikisu pale kwa barabara. Or like the way we see in the movies, I want to buy a gun. And they go to the gun store in the US and just buy, do you want a shotgun? Want a pistol? I want a semi-automatic machine gun, or whatever kind of gun that you're buying, whatever rifle you're buying. There are some equipment that are so deadly. Chemical weapons, these drones, that you cannot just buy kama wewe sio state if it's not a state that is established on its own. So when these Janjaweed guys were here on KICC and they are declaring a parallel government and declaring themselves as government, they are trying to legitimize that they can get such equipment. So a UN report was able to link Kenya directly with that Sudan RSF arms supply. And when we talk of RSF, they are really bad people, and whatever they have done in Darfur is something I would actually not like to speak about because it's so dehumanizing. I have been quite intrigued by this Sudan story, and it's over a month since this podcast started, and Sudan has been one of the things that I've spoken about the most. I got to even dig further on what is the beef between Sudan with the Medi. There's a link up here that you need to watch. Listen to get to understand who is a Medi. What does he do? Because kuna mambo huko, like I learned about a Medi and ethical cleansing. Medi ni Mwarabu, but he's talking about ethical cleansing, and they've been cleansing people in Sudan. Actually, there's a point I was watching some documentary where he was saying that people, they killed a governor, the RSF guys killed the governor of Darfur. He was from a different tribe. I think walikuwa naita Masit, if I'm not wrong, or Malit should be the name if I'm not wrong. So this governor of Darfur was from the Malit tribe. He went to, did an interview with one of the international media stations, talked about how people are being killed. He just explained on the real situation that is there in Sudan. However, what ended up happening of him? He was shot, he was captured by the RSF, tortured, and he was killed. Now, if a governor is killed, in as much as there is war, but you see such a significant person ameuawa, what does that mean? It's not safe anymore. So people of the Malit tribe started moving, trying to seek refuge in Chad, a distance of around 30 kilometers from Mali walikuwa. As they were moving, they were surrounded by the RSF. When the RSF guys surrounded them, they perpetrated them. Wakawa pepeta. People were trying to run into one of the rivers, trying to cross on the other side. But I mean, hata kama river ni wide aje, how can you help a bullet? And how this river, I can't remember the exact name of the river, but this river is a wide river and it's actually going to feed into the Nile. So I don't expect it to be a small river. There might be crocodiles or all kind of things that can be in such a river. Hippopotamus, snakes, but you would rather run from them than face the RSF. There were stories where that the RSF in their ethnic cleansing, they have been killing every male from this other tribe. When you kill a male, you kill a generation, because you all know mwanaume ndiye ako na mbegu. You can remember in the times of Herod. Like, it's giving Herod na time ya Yesu. Nani aliambia Hemedi kuna ka Yesu kamezaliwa Sudan? Rada, mbona mnaua males by the way? I don't get this thing. And then this is the person who is being said that he is friends with our president. Show me your friends and I will tell you your character. Na musitukumbushe 07 na kutoa magugu. Musitukumbushe. Yesterday actually there was a prayer breakfast. This prayer breakfast we had one motivational speaker stroke pastor anaitwa Vicky Bolden was the guest. You actually imported, I don't know whether he happened to be here or he was invited, but mlitoa msema juu mkamleta our preaching. It intrigues. It's funny. Moiro angekuja. I also think Pastor Ngana should have been called. I have quite a number of people. Then there's also lie. Mbona mkuita lie by the way? Ama angewaambia ukweli. Either way, the end justifies the means. And the word of God is like a double-edged sword. And the double-edged sword was unleashed on you. Huyo mulikuwa mnadhani mnaleta ndiye aliwaambia ukweli, akawaambia about forgiveness. Forgive each other, listen to each other, listen to your children. There's a song by John Legend and Common. Common is a rapper. Najua watu wengi hawamjui. He's a rapper who I really find his rap style really good. His poetry really amazing. Kuna ngoma hii inaitwa Glory. And in Glory, it's more of a liberation song. Go listen to it and usikize hiyo ngoma inaitwa Glory. There's a place where Common says that for the people to move or for the liberation to happen, we need the wisdom of the old and the young people's energy. It's a combination of the two. Gen Z need the old, and also the old need the Gen Z. It's a mutual agreement. But haiwezi kuwa, like I was seeing after they were told that they should apologize, Ruto actually made an apology and he was like, kama tumewakosea mtusamee. It was not that genuine apology. You know, there's a way we understand how you should apologize, how you should confess, because the first step to apologizing is first acknowledging your mistake. I don't know whether these people have acknowledged their mistake and all what they have done to us, from killing, corruption, stealing, so many things. I am a Catholic and I go for confession. And it looks like it's a crazy thing kwenda kuambia mtu dhambi zako. But I understand that confession as a sacrament is based on the fact that you have to admit that you are wrong. And it's actually based in the Bible, because in James 5 verse 16, Paul tells us that, therefore, confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. Mumesikia? The prayer of a powerful person, no, the prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. You must be, for you to get to tap on the graces of prayer, you must be right. You must be righteous first. Lazima ujisafishe kwanza. And in the old church walikuanga wana confessiana, they would look at each other. I have done this, and I think that's where even the ushuhuda thing comes from, the Protestant, where mtu anasimama, Bwana asifiwe sana. Kwa majina naitwa Caretaker, na jinsi sana nataka kusema ya kwamba mimi nilikuwa mtu mbaya sana. Nilikuwa nakunywa pombe nafanya usalati, lakini Mungu akaniokoa. Bwana asifiwe sana. I mean, that's confession. If you ask me, it's I'm not from the, but I would say that is a confession, that is a testimony. But tebu imagine ungekuwa una confess all the things you've done. Unakuja unaambia unachita, alafu unakuja unaambia bibi yako, I have a confession to make. Aki, I cheated on you. I have sinned against you and against God. What do you think will happen next? Tebu imagine. Go confess to your boss, mwambie, boss, jana kuna vile nilikuwa nimesota, and out of the sales that I made yesterday niliiba 2,000. Yes, I know I made 120,000, but 2,000 too. I feel it's the wrong thing that I did, But elewa tu, nimerudisha. What do you think will happen next? What do you think will happen? So for us Catholics, that's why we have priests when you are specific to listen to this forgiveness. So where was I with this forgiveness story? Is that, yes, it's good that the president asked for forgiveness. I'm not here to judge on whether the request was genuine or not. However, I made peace with the fact that people were killed on June 25th. I was in town that day. I know what happened. I left town early. I cried. It's not easy for me to cry, but when it's a matter of life and death, that's hapo ndio huwa wanaume wangu unaisha. That's where my manhood of I can't be silent or do anything, but hapo ndio machozi yangu ufika. I think the times that I find myself crying are only when I'm at a graveside. Mimi nikienda hata mazishi ya mtu sijui huwa najipata nalia, sijui ni kwa nini. I don't even cry for the person who has gone. I cry for the people who have been left behind, especially kama kuna ka story emotional. That's when I find tears. Or I see something so ugly where someone has lost their life. June 25th I was there. And I saw what the state did against us. With my own eyes. Hata acha mambo na BBC, mimi nilijionea najua. I was there. I was actually working, and kwa ofisi yenye tulikuwa, a tear gas canister was thrown. It was a first floor. Venye tu unaweza kuwa na stray bullet, kulikuwa na stray canister. Iligongwa ikapasua kioo inside the and got inside the office. The place was not, it was just untenable, so we just had to stop working. Na tuende tukajionea maandamano. I forgive the government for whatever they did, the politicians. I forgive the police. I forgive them personally. Mimi sijasema Wakenya wanisamehe. Lakini mimi, I knew for my own good, let me forgive. Because if I forgive you, it's not about you. It's not about the president. It's about me. It's for the sake of my own peace. However, that does not mean that we've reconciled. That does not mean that we are the same. That does not mean that ati nimesahau. We are not cool. I forgive you just because I want peace in my mind. Just because I don't want to carry any burden in my heart. I don't want to hate you more than I do. I actually want to erase that thing. But the scars are there. They will always remind me. I will always look back and say, on June 25th, people were killed in front of the parliament. The parliament where we elect leaders to go and defend us, to create policies to better our country, where we are supposed to protect the highest level of the protection, the basic human rights, the right to life, the right to freedom of expression. That is exactly the same spot where the same rights were abused the most. That is the truth, and that will never change. Did I forgive the government for that? Yes, I did. Have I reconciled with that? No. Will I make a better change? Yes, I will. At the right time, I will vote against this government because it will be the right thing to do. I forgive them, but I will never reconcile with them. The relationship can never be the same. It's just a transactional relationship. It's better to have a bad government than to have no government at all. So I respect them because I know it's better. We are better that at least we have a government. No matter how bad it is, at least it's there. So because we have a government, I can try to venture into entrepreneurship and hope that nobody will come and take away my business. I can do business because at least there's a working government that is protecting me. Whether good or bad, it's there, it's working. So we are going to work with that. But will I make a better decision? I will next time. I'm among the people who did not vote. Mimi mwenyewe sikuvote because I looked at Ruto versus Raila and asked, who can I choose between these two? They're cut from the same cloth. And I could not choose one. And just because I could not choose one, here I am. Am I regretting? Yes, kinda. But next time, I'll make a better decision. And I'm definite that is the same mood with a lot of people. Kutoa mtu from power. And as I insist, because I mean najua for real, Ruto will go. Even not must go. Ruto must go by the actually that's a fact. It's a fact that he will go. Apende asipende ataenda because either way. See, there will come a time when his tenure will come to an end. Yes. Ataenda nyumbani like any other people. He won't be here forever. But right now, I'm on a mission to know my politician, KYP. I want to know who is this politician? What does he stand for? What are the values that he brings? It's not about the money anymore. It's high time we stopped being led by mediocre leaders. I don't trust Gachagua, but when Gachagua was talking about the DCP issue and saying that there was a popular musician who wanted a direct nomination with the DCP party, but because because he's not gone to school, he's half-baked, he said haezi pata hiyo ticket. So the alleged musician went kumshtaki kwa Mr. Yes Man. Nana shanga, unastaki Gachagua kwa Mr. Yes Man na chama ni ya Gachagua. Mr. Yes Man si yako kwa Kenya Kwanza. And then mtu mwenye anakutetea na soprano. Anyway, that's besides the point. But I'm quite in agreement with Gachagua's argument that yes, indeed, we need to elect brains in parliament. Because ni magraduate wangapi hapa mnaongozwa na sijui au watu wanajitanga tu majina fani. Anga wa Mala, sijui wa Maria, wa Mai. Kwanza wa Kikuyu, you are so obsessed with those names. Wa sijui nani, wa Mitura. I heard fanya mambo wakielezea hiyo kitu. Very funny mediocre things that actually specifically watu wa Kikuyu. Mimi sijaona hiyo kitu Ukambani. Sijaiona Kisumu, wewe wanatafuta sijui nani, wa Matangi, wa Madramu, wa Mitura. Kitu tu funny people with funny names, with the branding. And Kikuyu venye tunawajua nyinyi na biashara na chapness. And like you are the most enlightened people, nyinyi ndio mko na maendeleo. We look up to you when it comes to development. Then you choose for us those leaders. Wakikuyu buana, you guys can do better, I believe so. It's not a Kikuyu issue, but I think it spans all across the country. Kwanza, I don't want to speak about my MP. I'm from Mwingi South. Not Mwingi South. Actually, it was petitioned ikaitwa Mwingi West. I'm from Mwingi West constituency. Mwingi West constituency has only one tarmac road. The Thika Garissa Highway. That's not a county level road. It's a highway. It's a B-class road connecting town to town. So one B-class road in a whole constituency. We have an MP, kazi yake yeye chenye anajua ni kusag suruali. If I talk about the needs that are in our constituency, anyway, story for another day. Sitaki kuongea hiyo kwanza. But this guy I actually saw him akiongea kwa bunge one time when they were impeaching the deputy president. The then deputy president Rigathi Gachagua. Sijai muona akiongea. Kusimama tu useme, Mr. Zivika, my people need water. My people need road. Tell me who does he cabinet mean? Hiyo tu ndio inakushinda. Anyway, it's time to make better choices in 2027. Let's move on to the other story. I would equate the Star to the Nairobian, always having those udakus that you can never find anywhere else. Only that the Star will give you political udaku. So, the Star was able to inform us of a president or prime minister who is actually in town. And the fact that he was hosted by Kenya has brought about a political tussle. Well, who is this? This is the president of Somaliland. The president of Somaliland, what's his name? Abdirahman Abdullahi. Is in Nairobi. He arrived here a few days ago, and he was received by CS Mining, our very own alias Anjaho Sultan himself, and to pick him up. There's a lot of business ties that they were discussing, such kind of stuff with high-profile people in the government. Well, I didn't say wrong when I said Somaliland. Yes, not Somalia, but Somaliland. There's a country called Somaliland, although it's not yet been recognized since 1991. Well, how did this get to happen? And what is the diplomatic war? Like, we were talking about Sudan just the other time, and the diplomatic war. Now we are talking about another one with Somalia. What's the real issue here? Well, yes, Somaliland is a country that is on the horniest part of the Horny Africa, and it borders Somalia, the real Somalia now that we know. Then on this other side is Djibouti and Ethiopia. It's not yet been recognized as a country, but it broke apart from the original Somalia in 1991. They have their own currency. They have a boundary, and actually an independent government that works on its own. And they are actually doing better than Somalia itself, because these people were able to hold elections. They happen to be people from one tribe. They are not like these other Somalias who have many different sub-tribes. Like they were one tribe, and once they were like one tribe, they decided to fight against these tribes in Somalia, and they were able to get their country for themselves, their own country. If you ask me, they are doing better than Somalia because they are quite stable. They have democratic elections. They actually hold elections and oversee peaceful transfer of power. However, for some reason, the country is not recognized. Why? Sababu hakuna mtu anasemanga Somaliland nini. They have, their capital is called Hagetia, and they have other cities like Berbera, Borau, Borama, Lasanod. And there's a lot of trade activity that happens there. They are pastoralists. So in Somaliland, most of the things utaona ni animal related. They sell camels, they export meat to the Middle East countries. So wako na kakiru, si unajua warrior lazima pesa iwekwe bahali yake. Apart from that, there's also trade. There are very many lorries that are overseen moving goods from the ports of Djibouti and also from the ports of Agatha into huku Africa. Sijui kama ndiko huko makapet zinatokanga zinakuja huku bahali yake, but I don't know. But they are really aggressive with business, and I feel that Somaliland is one country where if they were opened up by roads, then we would quite see the business prowess that the bahali yake guys have. Well, there was a diplomatic issue with Somalia. Wanasema, this is a rebel group, but Somalia, that just kicks off a dying dog, because even in 1991, when Somaliland was able to get to cede away from Somalia, it's not like walikubali. It's not like they said, yes, okay, we recognize you as a country. No, just because that they didn't have enough bullets to say no, so they just let it be. And mark you, they have more problems there. They have Al-Shabaab to deal with and other terrorist groups than to start dealing with Somaliland. Anyway, the guy is in town. I really hope that the discussions are going to be of benefit for both Kenya and Somaliland. And let's see how it goes, mazi. Sisi Kenya hatutambui. Mkisema sijui Sudan, we have a take, whether or not, it's our interest. Doesn't matter whether it's the politician's interest, as long as it's a Kenyan interest. Let's see how this goes. Na mbona Joho ndio alimwendea? Lakini jamii ni hawa mambo tuzijua, unajua. Ni mambo ya mining kule, labda kuna vitu ambavyo tumeona tunaweza pata Somaliland. Kama kuna mafuta, mwanangu, tuendee mafuta sisi. Sisi ndio mabingwa wa Afrika. Ama vipi Joho? Wasemaji? Siweni CS wa mining. Kuna tumaini tunaweza pata minerals kule Somaliland. Kama zipo basi wewe leta bwana. On to the next story. General Michael Langley is in town. Was here juicy, and I think also yesterday and today. I'm not definite when he's leaving town. If you're asking who is General Michael Langley, General Michael Langley is a U.S. Marine who is in charge of the U.S. mission in Africa. And he's in town because there's a meeting, there's a conference for all CDFs, Chief of Defense Forces in Africa. Wako hapa Kenya, wako na kongamano kubwa sana. What is the purpose of the meeting? They say that it's the security of Africa, all that kind of crap. But if it's about Africa, then why is it led by the US? Why? General Michael Langley can be remembered talking about or accusing our very own president of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore, for using Burkina Faso's gold to enrich himself. Gold ni ya Burkina Faso, but anasemekana he's using it to protect himself. Then I wondered, wait a minute. If I'm not wrong, a while ago, I heard that once Traore took power, among the things that he did was to nationalize the mining of gold. He made parastatals that were actually aimed at doing the gold mining process. And since he took power, what happened? We've seen exponential growth and development in Burkina Faso. So what did this lead us to spark, or what did I see? I saw, yes, it's a coup, it's not civilian leadership, but at least there's someone who has come with the willingness to do well, to do good for his people. So fast forward, the money that these guys are getting from minerals, Burkina Faso guys, unaona mahali inaenda. They've not been taxed further. Another thing that I would really look at Traore's policy, how he was able to transform the tomato market, because Burkina Faso people, chakula yao ni zile makoroni, nini. They have a lot of tomato. They make tomato soup, nini. So tomato kwao ni stable. It's like mahindi. So wakisema sisi wa Kenya tukisema sijui bei ya unga imepanda bwana. Wanasema bei ya tomato imepanda sana bwana. So you stabilize bei ya tomato and tomato paste and ensured that the food basket iko sawa. And it's progress after progress after progress. Try to see the developments that Traore has brought to Burkina Faso. But General Michael Langley, giving his report to the US Senate, said that Traore is using Burkina Faso's gold to protect himself or for his own good. Kwani hiyo inafaa kuwa ya nani? And that's the narrative that these people start throwing so that they can justify on why they should overthrow you and start sparking emotions. We saw that with Gaddafi. But now this time round, people were smarter than that. And it sparked a whole lot of emotions from different countries, reactions, and people said, no, this time round, that that game that you've been playing will not be played. General Michael Langley was actually questioned on the mission in Africa by a congressman. Kuna something I was watching on the Lynn Koge show, and it really fascinated me because there was a congressman who was asking Michael Langley questions and asking him what is the number of people that they have trained. And actually, they ended up linking one of the trainees, when I'm a trainee under the US Army, to a coup. I can't remember which exact country it was, but walimsaidia to get to overcome government illegitimately. Michael Langley fumbled, and all he could say was, it's not about civilian government, it's about ensuring that the principles, the values, that this person who is going to take over government, or who we are training to overthrow government, we share the same values. What values? What values? What are the specific interests that this Mulunye has? And why would he be in Kenya? What interest do they have flying in Kenya? Because I believe Kenya, yes, we are poor, but that does not mean that we do not have resources. We do have resources, but they benefit the wrong people. They benefit the mzungu, lakini sisi ndio tuko na resources hapa. Just imagine being born in a rich family and you are suffering because kuna mtu, maneiba wenyu ndio wanatumianga mali yenyu. Nyinyi mko na shamba lakini hata hamjuani. Watu ndio wanatumia shamba yenyu. You are being told that you are caretakers of your land, but you actually don't know that this land belongs to you. So this person, or if you know, you don't see the value. And because you don't see the value, the mzungu is there taking advantage. And I highly suspect the motives of these wazungus huku, when actually most of the resources are in Kenya. There was actually a report that was coming out of DRC where there has been a go slow, let me call it a go slow, in the mining industry with the export of cobalt, where the DRC government said, no, the prices are not right. So cobalt would go for, I don't know what are the specific measurements, but for 25,000 USD. And when DRC went back to the negotiation table in regards to cobalt, from 25,000, the market price shot to between 32 to 35,000. Such a big difference. Now they are saying, now we can talk, we can discuss. That is Africa coming to the realization of what its resources can do. And ziko hapa zote, they need them, they will come for them. But we need to start reviewing the prices. Even the price of tea, we should start reviewing at the price of tea in Kenya. Start packaging it. Coffee, you see, exportiwe, let's have the best coffee. Well, let's export the product and create a value towards it. And all the wealth in Europe, it will come back here, home. And we know the interests that the US have. They're not coming here to protect our interests. It's not about human rights. It's about their interests and their economic interests. And when we see Michael Langley here, we wonder, what is he doing? I'm not here to judge what he's doing or whatever, but in between, he did 2 interviews that I've watched. One with Citizen TV, Yvonne Okwara, another one with Dr. Kingori. And I was really fascinated. I said, I won't judge the interviewers or who you are interviewing, but it was quite an interesting and fascinating interview to watch. First, I watched Yvonne. Yvonne was able to squeeze 29 quality minutes out of Michael Langley. However, the Emperor, the Conqueror, the Lion, Dr. Kingori, the boy from Brewery Embu, Wawetu Mosiria, boy from Govio Boys did his thing. 1 hour. 1 hour. I think it was well over 1 hour. And podcasts with Michael Langley. And I was like, between TV and podcast is the way to go. I also try to juxtapose the kind of questions that Yvonne and Dr. Kingori asked, and you'd never cease to be amazed by Dr. Kingori's line of thought. Okay, maybe it is comic part of viewing things. I know I respect Yvonne as a journalist and how she goes down to the nitty-gritty details of everything. She's one person who will always ensure that she crosses the T's and dots the I. She does her work to perfection. But man, Kingori will always give you value out of an interview. And so many interviewers were out here in Kenya doing interviews because it seems that interview is one of the most common ways of creating content in Kenya. We should learn a lot from Dr. Kingori and how he thinks and how he is able to ask questions and simplify, show his perspective and how he perceives issues, because I remember kuna pata alikuwa anauliza Langley, like, for summer you needed just a SEAL 16. How do you determine that you just need 6 people versus sending a whole battalion? And Langley was there to explain about how they look at the threat, and it's all about efficiency and what kind of force they need to send to neutralize the threat. Very strategic. He was explaining about military strategies. Of course, he avoided politics. He talked about the thing with Traore. Atio, he was taken out of context. He was talking from a military perspective, but buana, watu si wajinga buana. We know these things. We are woke bana. We've been to school, and we went to school properly. It's not about human rights. It's about your interest. Na mtutoi hapo na hatujui vingine. Yes, and Ruto must go, by the way. Yes. So I felt like when you juxtapose between the quality that our local media are giving us versus the quality yenye podcast zinapeana, and there is hope for the digital world. Podcast is the way to go. Traditional media, TV, radio, kwaherini. Because I was trying to look at the quality that Citizen walipeana. Yes, you could see that they have a notch higher. But ebu enda uangalie ile picha ya hiyo interview ya Yvonne. Compare it with Dr. Kingori's. Expected Citizen to be a notch higher, maybe wakuata 4K, because they are an organization. But Dr. Kingori and his team, pure bliss, pure perfection, mouth-watering. And they also got more time, a lengthier interview. That's a win for podcasts. That's a win for the digital media. It's hope for someone like me, maybe. It tells me I've seen Kingori's consistency, and that's what I admire. May that growth locate me. Hiyo ni maombi yangu. Anyway, the quality that we've seen with Dr. Kingori, ukicompare na her Citizen, it's like heaven and earth, night and day, quite different. I felt that Dr. Kingori's quality was better, even in the quality of questions that he asked. Take nothing from Yvonne Okwara, not like she's just your regular journalist. She's top-notch. But I felt that Dr. Kingori's interview was better value-wise, quality-wise. It also reminded me of the recent Obina interview with Rigiji at Wamunyoro. And Rigiji is quite a fan of interviews. I actually heard him say that he'll be doing like once a month. And when he gives an interview, of course, we always get something to talk about. So we are always grateful for the interviews. Not like I trust Gachagua so much, but the fact that we are sisi wote tunasema one term, the end justifies the means. So we need to hear from this guy. So let's continue listening to him. And as he's giving his monthly updates and giving the Kenya Kwanza government sleepless nights, I feel kwa hizo interviews zote amefanya, the one for Obina gave the highest value for one. Apart from giving value, they have had the best quality ya picture, quality ya light, quality ya sound. Kwanza kuna ingine nilikuwa na watch sijui from some of the local TV channel that talks to how watu wa Mount Kenya East, watu wa Mlima wa huko Meru and something. I can't remember the exact name of the TV station. But the sound was so bad that nilikuwa nasema, even with my little sound, me who shoots with a camera and very basic microphones, very basic lights, I can do better with my sound than a whole TV station with less than $150 for my microphone, but I have better sound than you. But we can see traditional media is dying. It's slowly dying. And the fact that especially wanaendelea kuuza the wrong things in the market, selling betting, we saw the other documentary that NTV had done. As long as that's the mediocrity that is there, then you can now see the beginning of the falling of traditional media. And it is coming because once companies, organizations realize that the numbers are no longer with the traditional media, but the numbers are online, the numbers are on internet. People stopped watching TV, now they are on YouTube, they are on TikTok. That's where the money will move. And when the pockets of the traditional media are drained, then for me, I don't even see it as a business opportunity. I see it as a great milestone in the freedom of expression. Because as I post kitu YouTube, every other person can post on YouTube. There are like 150 podcasts. How will you control that? Na inaingia online. More freedom of expression. And that's why actually Marianne Keitany walikuwa nafikiria that they need to control our internet usage. Who is Marianne Keitany, by the way? Marianne Keitany is allegedly an ex to this Meru guy. This Meru guy anaitwa aje? Producer, sinikumbushe huyu jamaa sio Kindiki. The former agriculture CS. Unayafuatangi story ya siasa, ni msebure kabisa. But I'm forgetting his name. Oh, Linturi. Yes, Linturi is the guy. So Marianne Keitany is one person who believes in forcing issues. Alisema ata force issues hadi kwa koti kwamba wewe ni ex yangu, we had a relationship, which is always like a working relationship. Wametajwa having been taking tenders together. There was a Morara expose yenye nilikuwa naona expose barabara, which is said that Mithika Linturi and Marianne Keitany had a joint contract to gender some road in Meru, but their stomachs were more urgent. So their businesses deals did not go so well. I think they mixed pleasure and business, and so they found themselves in court, wanakimbizana. Anyway, that is not the story for the day. The story for the day is that Marianne Keitany is trying to seek on a way of regulating your internet usage. How much internet are you using? Tunakupimia kama token ya Kenya Power. I remember back in 2016, 2017, there was that rumor that Kenya Power would like to get into the supply of internet. But sasa unasema utakuwa unapimiwa kama meter. Apart from that, what are they looking at? Where do you spend? Apart from how much you're spending on the internet, where do you spend your internet? Is it TikTok? Is it Facebook? Whatever you are doing, what are these sites that you visit and why are you visiting them? So ni kama tu wanakuchunguza. Why would we need that? Especially from this lady called Marianne Keitany. Before tuchunguze hizo kampuni zako tuone ni pesa ngapi mmekula. Before uanzane na mambo ya internet. Na unajua mambo ya internet huwezi haya huyawezi. Wachana nayo. Ng'ang'ana na Linturi kwanza. Kimalizana ya Linturi kuja kwetu. Let's talk about Samido. Samido dakora wo mutwe mwega. He does not have a good head. Indeed, ask me why. Because Samido, while he is in the face of power, he will say 2 terms. But akiwa kwa klabu akitumbuiza raia anawaambia 1 term. This statement of 1 term didn't agree well with some of his bosses, and actually they feel that that is gross misconduct. Wewe ni awande unasema hiyo kitu. Hii hatuwezi sema hivyo bwana. Sasa sisi lazima tupanishie huyu jamaa. And so Samido is a popular Kikuyu musician, and he's actually a police by profession, askari. And being a police, and the fact that he never resigns, he is supposed to serve the government of the day. He does music on the side, but I think siku hizi ni kama hiyo kukua police is just a side hustle for him. Well, there have been quite a number of issues that have been talked about his issue with saying 1 term, and it reached the authorities after he was trending. Then Kiasi just the other day, he was in Karen, and people were saying that he confused Karen with his ex Karen, but we know currently they are not talking with Karen, but we never know. It's just some issue we don't know, so let's just sip a black current and see how the drama unfolds. But due to Samido saying 1 term, he might be receiving some disciplinary action. And what is the typical disciplinary action? He will be transferred from Central Region Police Headquarters to Anti-Stock Theft Police Unit in Gilgil. So atolewe huku Centro na Nairobi apelekwe Gilgil, ndio kwa Anti-Stock Theft Unit, and wakashughulikia na wale mabandits huko. If you are asking me, I will always be asking Samido, hii kazi askari, why are you holding on to it? I feel like music is giving you better than this AP thing. Ama kuna kahongo unapengwa mahali. Okay, sijui. But I feel just get out of the government ndio uweze kufanya ndio hiyo kitu ikutoke. Wache kukua na trend nusu. Anyway, it's hard to leave government, especially when it comes with Karen, both the residents and the human. So we don't judge him. Let's see how it unfolds. But reality ni ati 1 term is real. Hata yeye aliwaambia. Tukikujia pesa tunasema 2 term. Kwa ground ni 1 term. Shauri yenyu. Let's talk about banks. And banks have been blamed for cutting their lending rate to private institutions, actually preferring to lend to government over lending to private institutions and consumers. So what does that mean? That most businesses are not able to borrow loans, access to capital imepungua. Well, what is the reason behind this? It's because, for one, you are lending to government, yes, you might be lending them at a lower rate, but in as much as you're lending them at a lower rate, you're reducing the risk. Government, ukiekelea pesa kwa gava, in securities, in bonds, unless the government fails, you're always sure that you will get return on your investment. And one of the surest way to multiply your money is bonds, securities. They are always the most secure way of investing your money. And banks, nobody knows that better than our banks in Kenya. So, rather than kupea mwanabiashara pesa, alafu you start getting the excuses of, oh, the dog ate my homework, it's been a very bad environment, kasongo this, kasongo that. Why don't we just lend to the government and wait for the government to bring us good returns on our investment? So inasemekana from the yields have been going down, because I remember there was a time at treasury bills were going for more than 18%. So the yields have gone down from a high of 19% to 13.65. But in as much as the yields have gone down, that does not mean that banks are willing to lend to the private sector. They are still favoring the bills and bonds. Why are they favoring them? In as much as they can lend to us at a higher rate, and we make greater returns for them, they feel it's more secure there. Credit risk is lower. When you are giving credit to the government, the probability of them failing to pay is quite low as compared to lending to the private sector. What does that lead? Lack of capital. Tunaanza kwa zile points that led to migration in DRC. Lack of capital, scarcity, greener pastures, spirit of adventure. But we are looking at this point, a lack of capital. When you lack credit, you are not able to borrow credit for investment. Remember, we don't borrow to consume. You should borrow to invest. And money or credit ni kama mbegu. Ni kama yule mtu ambaye amekupea mbegu. Haukuli mbegu, unaenda kupanda ile mbegu. Kisha ukishapanda mbegu, yale mavuno ambayo unapata, ndio unaweza kuweka mbegu nyingine, na pia unaweza kukula kutoka kwa yale mavuno. You eat of the fruit, you don't eat of the seed. Amen? Amen. But now, we don't have a seed because banks are borrowing from, banks are preferring to to lend to the government more than the people. That's why we have such an environment. And when the money is controlled by the government, we have such a place. If an entrepreneur wants to access 2 million, that entrepreneur and the access a loan of 2 million, it will be a direct injection. It's not just money that has come out to someone's hand. It will be a direct injection in the economy. How? Akuja afungue duka, aajiri mtu. One, there's a duka yenye imepata kazi. Kuna landlord mahali, duka yake imekombolewa. Number two, there's that painter who will be called to paint and maybe brand, furnish the place. Suppliers will be able to sell their goods. Unamkuta huyo mtu anaingia kwa kazi. They might need a helping hand or two. A job will be created. That's the impact that credit has in society. It's a direct injection of money into the economy. And when now this money starts moving and circulating, moves from one hand to another, mtu amepewa loan, ameanza mjengo, hiyo mjengo kuna watu wameajiriwa pale, they are making their daily bread. Kuna foreman. Then once the building is over, there's a income generating activity. Kuna caretaker hapa. Na gawa pia inapata tax. This landlord who mtu amejenga after getting credit, they'll be paying tax. That biashara, that serious business that has been opened because you are able to get credit. Then this person is bringing a tax, and that's how we all make money. We all grow together. But we live in a country where most of the money is controlled by the government, and then we wonder why there is no unemployment. There is no way government can lead in economic growth. There is no sustainable way or place. There's no way governed your economy. No. The money should be with the entrepreneurs. From the entrepreneurs, then we can talk about government, and then the people. Businessmen should be the richest people in a good economy, not politicians. But when you ask these politicians, they did business. Which business did you do? Every business requires you to wake up every day and work. And I actually feel bad that banks are favoring to lend to the government as opposed to the people, as opposed to the private sector. Because, for one, the banks are aiming at making a profit. They want to make money. And it's more difficult to make it in the private sector because, for one, you need an employee. Who will be appraising these loans, who will be checking, so you need more labor. as opposed to government. Government mkianza kuwa, if you're processing a security or a bond for the government, how many employees do you need to analyze the risk? 10, 15 maybe. What if you're empowering SMEs? Kuna mtu akonajua kali yake pale, kuna mtu mwingine akona duka yake electronics, kuna mwingine ni distributor wa soda, wines and spirits. You need many employees to do that. And we've witnessed banks are actually firing people for very flimsy reasons. Because why do I need all this labor? And for banks, actually, the highest pesa mingi huenda sana kwa, their biggest expense is labor. That's their greatest expense, human labor, human resource. Hiyo ndio the most expensive thing that a bank has to incur. So if I can reduce my expenses, the human resource, and give the government money, why not? Don't blame them. It's business. So yes, tumeachwa taabani, but I will blame the government. We should not be competing with the government to borrow. If the government gets out of the lending space, then we will see what happened ile time ya Moi. Pesa zilikuwa zinazungushwa na banks. Yes, banks will come down kwetu mobilizing for deposit. There's a bank I know, walikuanga na kagari fulani, Land Rover, tulikuwa tunaenda kwa soko. Siku ya soko, wanajua kambi fulani kuna soko, wanakuja hapo. Wanachukua pesa, they take the deposits, and out of forming that relationship, then now you are able to borrow. They even call you, they say, hey, we see you are very active in your account, by the way, tunaweza kukopesha do. Does that happen nowadays? How often does your bank call you and tell you that, hey, we can empower you with a loan? How often? It shows that we are on the wrong trajectory as Kenya. The government should get out of the way na waache kuomba pesa kutoka kwa bank. Waende wakaombe pesa huko nje. We are the ones who should be borrowing money from banks, circles, societies. Now, gava ikitoka kwa hiyo soko, what will happen? Watatuzungushia pesa, watatuletea pesa hapa kwetu. And you'll stop seeing these funny credit apps. And the credit will be cheap. And people don't refuse. Most people actually pay back their loans. A very few people, watu wachache sana who fail to pay their loans. And actually, even when they fail to pay their loans with such a high interest rate, right now borrowing, assuming you're borrowing at a rate of like 25% per annum, how will you ever make money na urudishe hiyo pesa ya wenyewe? Difficult, right? So, kama biashara ni ngumu, loan unaitishwa hapa, the chances of you defaulting are higher. But wakitoka if government is out of the credit market, especially the domestic market, then the banks will have no other option but to come and empower us. Utaona hata wakiempower idea. But as long as government inaomba, they will always continue favoring hata wakiwapea lower rates, because the expense of doing this processing of a government loan or security is much lower. If you are processing maybe, let's say 100 billion, let's say 50 billion to the government as one government bond, unahitaji just like 10, 15 people. I don't know, just thinking wild. As compared to, you are trying to inject 50 billion into the private sector. Hakuna mtu yote utampea 50 billion because kuna hii, you'll appraise this company, you'll appraise this carpenter and his furniture business. Different scenarios that will require you to have employees with actually different skill sets. Kuna mwenye ako kwa ground, you'll need maybe to make an analysis, you'll need a committee to do an appraisal. Labor. So, it will cost you a lot. But if the government is out of the market, then hawatakuwa na option, and they have to grow their money, they have to grow their loan books. Watakuja kwetu. So it's high time we start calling for the government watoke kwa soko ya credit. Watoke soko, by the way. Gava ifai kuwa soko. Soko ya credit, that's what I mean. On to the next story. Indeed, religion is opium to the masses. Listen to this. According to the Star, One person died and 17 others were injured when a church collapsed in the city. It was in a 2-story building and it was a semi-permanent structure. Listen to that, it's a church in a 2-story building yenye ni semi-permanent. So there were around 30 people who were worshiping and praising the Lord. Hey, shangwe, hallelujah, wanaruka. I can try to imagine they were trying to beat the walls, trying to bind the demon. You know those kind of people who pray until unaanza kurumia shetani. They were there, praying and taking what the devil took away from them. They jumped up and down until the floor caved in. Wakaenda chini, push it, baka down. So out of over 30 people, there are 33 specifically. 17 of them sustained soft tissue injuries. And a guy by the name Joseph Ogola, aged 60, died, man. May he rest in peace. He's actually, police are still investigating the issue. Kuna mambo na postmortem. Bwana mtu alikufa akiabudu Mungu. Mnataka postmortem ya kujua nini? Anyway, it's the government doing its job. So the county officials came there. They could not establish who actually permitted or authorized the building to be there because it's not supposed to be illegal in a way. But this got me wondering, what are how safe are our churches? How safe are our places of worship? How safe are the places we interact? Because kama hawa ni watu walikuwa wakiroa wanarukaruka juu chini until the floor caved in, then especially in a city like Nairobi, where we are saying that we have a functional county government. Lakini, you know, our county government is just, it's a perfect mockery of a county government because kama Nairobi, mimi naona kama Nairobi ni ploti fulani yenye Sakaja ni landlord na alituachia Caretaker. Caretaker wetu ni nani? Mosiria. When you have a problem, you call Mosiria. Mosiria ndiye Caretaker wa Nairobi, by the way. Lazima upigie Caretaker. Kuna maji inapitia hapa kwetu, pigia Mosiria. Kuna mtu amefungulia sewage, pigia Mosiria. Land rates, nani hajalipa rent? Nganga hajalipa rent ya Nairobi? Mosiria ndiye anaendea. And Mosiria gets me to wonder because he's always recording and I think he has the authority of, he has the go-ahead of Governor Sakaja. For me, I feel it's, yes, you're trying to do something good, you're trying to expose on how we are, because how pia sisi watu wa Nairobi pia sisi ni vichwa ngumu. You'll see someone just buy something, unakunywa soda na alafu chupa unatupa kwa mtaro. Na hiyo mtaro ikishakwama, then you are the one who is suffering. You live in that environment. We are not conscious of our environment. But in as much as we are not conscious of our environment, and in as much as we are part of the problem to blame, Gava takes a major hit. And for me, I'm coming from Mosiria, Caretaker wa Nairobi. Caretaker wa Nairobi bwana, kuna vitu mingi sana unafanya wrong. One, Mosiria, ukijua wewe ni Caretaker wa Nairobi, jua hii plot ni kubwa. Hii plot inaitwa Nairobi ni kubwa. Yes, we know Nairobi is one big bedroom. But you cannot handle it all alone. If you are a leader, you are not supposed to move everywhere. Utawai toka Tao, uende Ongwaru, utoke Ongwaru, Ruiru, utoke Ruiru, uende Ngong, utoke Ngong, uende Utawala, utoke Utawala, uende Kibera. Utamaliza hii city kweli? Hata hatujahesabu Huruma, hatujaenda Buru. How will you cover? You are just one human with only 24 hours per day. You need to work and rest. Mosiria, Caretaker wa Nairobi, tafuta Caretaker wa Utawala. Mwambie, sasa wewe ndiye Caretaker wa Utawala. Nikisikia kuna mtu amenipigia kuhusiana na mtaro imekwama Utawala, wewe ndio utaulizwa kazi. That's how you become a leader. Get someone else for Kangema. Have structures in place where people report to you. They tell you this is the progress that we are doing. These are the complaints I have received. You can even get one center or one centralized place to receive all these complaints. Then you direct them to the specific person mwenye ako kwa ground and they work on it and you get a report. Now that's what we call leadership. Being able to move with people. And even ensuring that even when you are not there is continuity. Ile siku uko mgonjwa, umeingia huko, umeenda Nairobi West, umechukua sick off, kazi haitaisha Nairobi juu huko, but there is a continuity, there are structures in place. That's how you put up structures. That is now leadership. That is now what you are called to do. Sio kuzunguka kuangalia ati kwenye venye maji inapita and acting desperate like, so now what do we do? Sometimes, Mosiria, honestly, you act desperate. It gives ile time alisema ati, I don't know how much money is stolen from Kenya. $1 billion is stolen from Kenya every day. And then he asks, so what do you want me to do? I mean, you are the fucking president to start with. You are the president. If the president asks me, a mere humble, skinny gentleman living in Nairobi, just an average street in Nairobi, what do I do? What can I tell him? I'll tell him, make me the president, I'll show you what to do. I know, I got it figured out. Yeah, put people in jail. Let people be accountable. Be affirmative with your leadership. Put structures in place. Na hiyo ndio kitu tunalaka. Going back to these people who are praying, the building kept in, and all these problems, semi-permanent structure yenye iko na ghorofa na hadi kanisa juu yake. There must have been someone who looked the other way because the structure, in the first place, haingefaa kuwa hapo. So as a result of corruption, someone looking the other way, as a result of bribery and corruption, we have someone who lost his life. Joseph Ogala alikuwa anatafuta uso wa Mungu. Hatujui kama aliuona. Sorry, dark humor. May he rest in peace. But I feel as our government we can do better. And also the people have been complaining that the same church ilikuwa ina noise pollutia sana. Caretaker wa Nairobi, tunakuambia bana, hizi kanisa ziko na makelele mingi sana. Hata saa zingine siwezi shoot juu ati kuna kanisa wameanza kuomba. We should control noise, and in as much as we are taking control of that, unapima decibels ngapi. Ensure that hata hao wenye wako kwa county, wenye wako kwa ground, the county officers wenye wako kwa ground, they are equip them to be able to do the same thing that you are doing. And Nairobi will become a better place. I don't think that you need to be a rocket scientist or have supernatural powers to run Nairobi. You just need to be deliberate about it. Caretaker wa Nairobi, you can do a better job. Sacks will sack you if you continue doing like that. Lastly, the last but not least, I think this should be the cream, the cherry on the ice cream. This is the most beautiful story that I've ever heard in a while. I actually think it's time to treat myself. Get a bottle of wine, celebrate for no apparent reason. Not for no apparent reason, but celebrate someone I don't know. And this is actually my hero, my heroine. She's a lady. Okay, what is the story? What is the whole story about? Well, the whole story is that Kenyatta University has to pay 850,000 to one Nyambura Kimani because of missing marks. KU walipe Nyambura Kimani 850,000 for missing mark. How many comrades feel it's time? For me, I have 2 lawsuits. I studied at KU, so I can totally relate to the issue of missing mark. You attended a CAT exam or even a main exam. You attended, you sat the paper, you did the paper, you submitted. You even signed that you were in that class. Then, a semester down the line, 1 semester later, you are told, ukienda kuangalia kwa portal, that you don't have the marks. That for this unit, it's incomplete. It's not like you failed, but you actually didn't submit all your tasks. Now, in our time at Akukua, we had a student portal, but there was no online submission of assignment. I think after COVID, they started the same. But I knew you would physically hand over a paper. Na peana ni kama ni class 2. Leteni homework, guys. I was wondering, this 20 2017, 2018 tunazunguka na makaratasi. Anyway, KU is such a bad place. I personally had such a bad experience that I would never wish even my enemy to school there, because I had a very bad experience as a student. Not missing mark is just one part of the issue. One day maybe we will come, I will sit down with a few comrades tuongelele tu KU na masaibu yake, because it's a story that would take hours and days. But let's talk about missing mark. Missing mark was a nightmare for people who are, when they are going to graduate. Unakuja unapata, oh, you don't have marks for this unit, so you cannot graduate. Na inakuweka hapo. Personally, phonetics and phonological processes, a third year unit, almost made me not graduate. There was also another one, educational psychology, EPS 400. Missing mark. You're not told that ulianguka mtihani. Si kuanguka ulianguka. Your cut marks are nowhere to be found. They are nowhere to be found haji na ulikuwa hapo ulitokea. And at the end of the day, if you want to graduate, you have to go back to school. One, for me, I was supposed to graduate in 2018. I graduated in 2019, so I was delayed by a year. Nikarudi tena kwa mfuko, natoa pesa unalipa. And at the same time, you're juggling between work, because that time I was working, na lazima uattend class, because you don't want to repeat the same ama upate umefail. Sometimes unajipata uko kazi, you are in a hurry, hata hakuna hauwezi chukua matatu. I would even incur the cost of a cab ndio niende shule. It was such a traumatizing experience. And imagine being in school just for one unit for 3 hours. The whole week, kuna 3 hours zako unakumbukanga, siwezi enda ushago juu next week kuna cut na itakuwa on Monday, so Monday lazima nikuwe tu around. Some unnecessary inconveniences from time, money, a lot. Well, Nyambura Kimani successfully sued Kenyatta University for missing marks because of a cut that she undertook and did not get the 30 marks in as much as she submitted. Who was the responsible lecturer? Alikuwa anaitwa Dr. Linda Kimenshu. So Dr. Linda Kimenshu and KU were unable to prove that, because they said that Nyambura did not actually take the cut. They were unable to prove whether she took the cut or not, and who are the people who took the cut. Was there an attendance sheet? They were not able to bring that evidence. And since they were not able to bring that evidence, the court ordered that they pay her 850,000. They pay her legal fees for suing, for all that time, and also the legal fees that she incurred to suing them, and allow her to graduate. That is the sweetest part. Atakuwa kwa graduation list the soonest possible. The next graduation kutakuwa na jina ya Nyambura Kimani. Even if I wouldn't have any other reasons. I don't have a friend at KU who is graduating of late. But kama you could let me know. But Nyambura Kimani, I would like to come and attend your graduation. Aki nitumie invite. Nitumie invite, I will come. Because you fought for so many of us. I remember there was a time I was going to clear. The other time tuna clear for graduation. And niko kwa finance. Finance to make you up with quite a number of comrades, and then I'm supposed to clear with finance, then go to the next department. Makio nishapewa gown. As I'm going to clear to finance, wanasema kijana we kutoka second year hujailipa fees. Ate hujailipa fees? I'm wondering, is this a joke? Because in KU, it's not like other universities where you used to get ati kama hujalipa fees utapata exam card. In KU, kama haujalipa fees, hauwezi register units. So you won't be able to take the course in the first place because haujalipa fees. Now they come and tell you that umefanya hizi units kutoka second year hadi fourth year, but haujalipa. Anyway, guys, I was armed with receipts like a jealous girlfriend. Nilizitoa hivi. Receipt after receipt after receipt after receipt until they cleared me. And in KU, you had to be ready for anything. So many people have been frustrated by KU, others even gave up on their education. There are so many people who did not complete their degrees. because of the frustration that KU led you to, including even sexual favors. I had friends who lecturer angekuambia ukitaka marks yako, then I need to have you in my bed, you'll come on my bed. People will say no, I won't compromise my dignity for just a piece of paper, or I'll wait and do that unit at a later time with another lecturer. Painful stories that comrades still hold, but tulishinda, and I feel like now I should revisit. Kunaweza kuwa na 850k kangu kwanza kwa sababu unit zangu zilikuwa 2, missing mark za unit 2, 850,000 times 2, na millionaire cheze huko almost mita 2. I need a good lawyer. Kama unajua vile tunaweza fanya hiyo kitu, if we can sue for that damage and that 1 year that I lost, and you are a lawyer, let's connect mazi. KU tuinyonye pesa ili tu stress sana during our time. And our hero, the heroine of heroines, the lady that we can all clap to and applause to, our hero for this episode is Nyambura Kimani. I don't know you, but I really look up to you. I look up to your courage, and this is an eye-opener for all of us. And it's a win. I feel part of your win, having suffered the fate of missing marks in KU. That has been my time. I'm Anthony Mutugi. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. It's Tony's Pod. See you in the next episode.